Hi, good day once again. So for today's lecture, what we'll be tackling about are things that many are still confused. So for sure, some of you are still confused on when to use on when you're referring to a date, to a time, to a year. When to use in when you're referring to a place or even to a day, to a date or to a day. So when to use at and when to use for, when to use of. So sometimes we're just considering which one sounds good, and that will be the time that we'll be deciding which among these terms we will be using. So for today's lecture, we'll be dealing on the different prepositions, the different preposition, and how to use these prepositions properly, and what are the techniques in order for you to determine, okay, which one is more applicable to use. So, okay, so prepositions. So I have here some questions, and what I would like you to do is try answering the following items. So you have your pen and paper there beside you, and try to answer all of them. Okay, so if you're just going to describe, the circle is in on the box. So which do you think is the appropriate one, in or on? Okay, it's on. Let's have the second one. The circle is in on the box. It looks like a flag in the box. Okay, now the circle is on above the box. So you notice here that the circle is a little bit away from the box. Okay, so it's above. Then we have this one. Looks like a human. The circle is beside by the box. Okay, the answer is beside the box. Okay, so next we have another example. The circle is under by the box. Okay, so it's under the box. Okay, so for sure some of you are confused on which one to use, in, on, etc., etc. Okay, but still, let's define first what a preposition is. So a preposition links nouns, pronouns, and phrases to other words in a sentence. The word or phrase that the preposition introduces is called the object of the preposition. Okay, so in my previous discussion, I keep on mentioning prepositional phrase. So here are the different prepositions now. Okay, so there are plenty or a lot of prepositions, but we will be just dealing with some of those commonly used prepositions. So let's begin. So let's begin with above. Okay, so when we talk of above, it means on a higher level, again, not touching. So jet planes fly above the clouds. Fly above the clouds. So let's say, for example, this is the cloud, and then here's the airplane. Okay, it's above the clouds. Okay, so again, not touching the object. Okay, not touching the surface. So the surface here could be the clouds, and then we have here the jet planes. So you can see that jet planes is not touching the clouds. So above the clouds. When we are referring to a quantity, it means more than. Let's say he is above voting age. It means that he is more. His age is more than the voting age. So more than, above. Okay. So you can place it, you can use it to refer to a place or to refer to a quantity. Then we have a cross from one side to the other. I walked across the street. So let's say, for example, this is the street. So this is the street. Then you cross the street. Okay. So for instance, this is the street. Okay, you are here, and then you will be moving to another side. So that means then you are here now. So that means from one side to the other, I walk across the street. Then we have along. So following a line, we drove along the shore. We plant the shrub along the fence. Let's say, for example, this is the shore. Okay, this is the shore. Okay, and then here you are. So you drive along the shore. So it seems like you're following a certain line. Okay, so you drove along the shore. Or let's say, for example, this is the fence. Okay, so this is the fence. Okay, so these are the fence. Okay, so for example, this is the fence. So you plant the fence, or you plant the shrub along the fence, something like that. So for example, there's just only just a certain fence, and then you just follow the line of the fence, and that is where you plant the shrub. Okay, something like that. Then at. Okay, so this is another commonly used preposition. So place or position, point of place. So if you're pertaining to specific place, then we have to use at. So let's say we lived at 92 Mariveles Street. So you're particularly specific with the street. Okay. However, we can say we live on 92 Mariveles Street. So at is used also when referring to an activity normally associated with a place. Again, referring to an activity normally associated with a place. So for example, we study at school. Let's say for instance that is a usual action. Therefore, you have to use at school. Then, if a certain action happens unusually or unusual action, we will not be using at. So we say we were in school when the fire broke out. So obviously, fire did not occur all the time. So since it is not a usual action, therefore, we will not be using the preposition at. However, again, if it is a usual action, at should be used. So that's the difference between at and in terms of if a particular action is is a usual or unusual action. At is also used to refer to small places, in for big places. Okay, so we drive at the U, which is a small town, or we arrive in Manila, which is a big city. So just to show you some differences between at and in. Also, we can also use at to refer to a point of time. So let's say the train arrives in Legazpi at 9 o'clock. So we're referring to time here. So take note that when we say at 9 o'clock, at noon, at night, at dawn, but not in the afternoon, in the evening, or in the morning. So you see the difference. So we use at when we're referring to, let's say, 9 o'clock, at noon, at night, at dawn. However, we're not using at when we're referring to afternoon, evening, or morning. It's not like at afternoon, at evening, at morning. So that's incorrect. So just take note of this. Then we are using at when we're referring to measurement or point of measurement. So let's say he drove at 60 kilometer per hour. Mango sell at 50 pesos 50 pesos a piece. He retired at 65 years of age. Okay. Then we use how when to use beside. So by the side of by the side of. Let's say, sit beside me. The school is beside the church. Okay, so beside, by the side of. Between, so in the space that intervenes. So the teacher seated between the two noisy students. So let's say for instance, this is the teacher and these are the two students. Okay, so we can say that the circle is in between the two boxes. Or let's say for example, if it's the teacher is the teacher seated between the two noisy students. Also, we are using between in the period of time. He came between 3 and 4 o'clock. So if we're not very much particular of the exact time, so we can say that he came between 3 and 4 o'clock. So in between that time, that is when particular action happened. That is when the subject he came. Then we have for. So we use for to refer to length of time the action lated. Okay? So we stayed in Hong Kong for 2 weeks. We stayed in Hong Kong for 2 weeks. So how long that particular action happened for 2 weeks. Okay. Then space included. Space included. He walked for 3 miles. He walked for 3 miles. We can also use for when we're referring to means. Let's say he used his wealth. How? For acquiring more wealth. Okay, he uses wealth for acquiring more wealth. Another one is a substitution in place of, let's say, he did the job for me. He did the job for me. So instead of the subject he performing the action or doing the job, this person do the job. Then direction toward a place means it means to say if you'll be going to some some place or a certain place, then for is used. So we say we sailed for Zamboanga. We sailed for Zamboanga. Or if you're referring to an amount, so we say we sold our lot for 20,000 pesos. Very cheap, less expensive. Okay, so we sold our lot for 20,000 pesos. Then, if you're referring to point of time, meetings are scheduled for 2 o'clock every day. 2 o'clock every day. From movement away from a point. Movement away from a point. So we say he threw the ball from first base. So he threw the ball from first base. So from the first base where the person is standing, he threw the ball. Then starting point or origin. So good coffee comes from Batangas. Good coffee comes from Batangas. So where does the good coffee comes from? From Batangas. So that is the origin of the good of that said good coffee. As they say, it really has or Batangas has good coffee. Starting point as well when we're referring to time. Classes last from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. So point in time, 7 in the morning. Source of. So we say he is suffering from malnutrition. He is suffering from malnutrition. So what's the cause of his suffering? Malnutrition. Distance. He is away from his family. So he's away from his family. Separation. So there are many functions. From has many functions. In. Okay. So just imagine you are enclosed in space or within an area, then in should be used. So names of land such as towns, counties, states, countries, and continents. So take note of this example. She lives in Angona. Angona is a town. Angona is in Rizal Province. Rizal Province is in Region 4A. Rizal Province is in the Philippines. The Philippines is in Asia. So you see? Okay, because if it's a bigger place, then we are using in. Again, just to be reminded of towns. We don't have counties in the Philippines. Towns, countries, continents, okay, or cities. So we are using in. For non-specific times during a day, again, we are using in when we are referring to a day, a month, a season, or a year. So let's say she likes to jog in the morning, which is referring to a day. It's too cold in winter, which is a season. He started the job in 1971, a year. Is going to quit in August, which is a month. So a day, a month, a season, or a year use in. Now, another thing that you should be reminded of when using in. So just imagine a particular object placed inside or placed in a certain enclosed area. Okay, so that means in should be used. Let's say, for example, the one that I gave you, the one that I presented to you a while ago, wherein the circle is in the box. Okay, it's inside a certain enclosed area. That is another function or use of the preposition in. Another is the preposition of. So of is used when you're referring to ownership. So let's say the ancestors of Jose lived here. Okay, we need to say the ancestors is pertaining to someone related to Jose. The top of the table isn't level. The top of the table, we need to say we are pertaining to the part of the table, which is the top. We are also using of when we're referring to a unit. So give me 3 bottles of beer. 3 bottles of beer. Okay. Then origin, it is made of wood. Let's say the table is made of wood. Um, Next, we have cause, source of. He died of hunger. He died of hunger. The cause of. We don't say he died for hunger. It sounds like it's too impossible to happen. He died for hunger. So the right term for that is he died of hunger. So what's the cause of the person's death? It's because of hunger. Then we have the preposition on. So when we are referring to place or position, so use on. Let's say you are in contact, let's say a particular object or a person is in contact with the surface to designate names of streets, avenues, boulevard, and the likes, then on is used. So again, when a certain object, things, or anything that is come in contact with the surface or on a certain surface, then on is used. So we say her house is on Boret's Road. So since we are pertaining to a road, we are using on. Why not in? Because when you say your house is in Boret's Road, it seems like let's say for example this is the road, so he's living or that person is living inside the road. So it's unnecessary. Or we say uh, he lives in 53 50 53 street or 53rd street. He lives in 53rd street. Okay, so he lives on 53rd street. He lives on ABC Avenue. So next is a point of period to designate days and specific dates on its use. So let's say my brother is coming on Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, on. If you're pertaining to a specific date on its use, so let's say we're having a party on July 4 or on the 4th of July or the more specific date, let's say he was born on January 1, 2020. He was born on January 1, 2020. Okay, it's a more specific date. Then we have over. A picture hung over the a picture hung or is hung over the blackboard, so on a higher level. So movement above and across is through the ball over the picture's plate, over the picture's plate. So it's different uh, from from using above is that we see an actual motion of an object moving to another place. So let's say for example, he threw the ball over the picture's plate. We see that motion. Okay, which isn't like we'd been say above. It's just there. Okay, or it could be there's a certain level which is higher on a certain level, then a picture is hung over the blackboard. Okay. Next is that under, it's synonymous for below and beneath. So at a lower level, so the footstool is under the table. The footstool is under the table. And we are referring to time or during the time of many roads were built under his administration. Or if you are referring to a subordinate to, the army is under the president. So let's try this. So get a piece of paper and try answering the following items. Okay, so fill in the blanks of the right preposition. So we are residing, blank 85 Bataan Street, blank Quezon City. He stayed blank the Hilton Hotel when he was blank England for a visit. We came to Manila blank 1950. We have lived here blank that time. The annoying student fell blank the teacher's hand and rolled away. Okay, so let's have the next one. The convict escaped blank prison. I often take advantage blank seasonal sales. Mrs. Bueno will be glad to give advice blank your personal problems. Why were you absent blank the class yesterday? I am very much pleased blank your performance. Okay, let's continue. The man got angry blank the dog for barking at him. The meeting will start promptly blank 2 o'clock and will last blank 5 o'clock. Okay, so let us see. So these are the key to corrections. So we are residing on or at. So just like we mentioned, at can be used when referring to specific place. So it's acceptable to use either on and at. So since it is a street, we use on. In Quezon City because we are referring to a city. We say that we use in when we are referring to a city. He stayed in or at the Hilton Hotel. So why in or at? Because at we're referring to a specific place which is the Hilton Hotel. Okay, in the Hilton Hotel, of course, it gives us an idea that you went inside the hotel. So in the Hilton Hotel when he was in England for a visit. So since England is a country, so we use in. We came to Manila in 1950 because it's a year. Okay, so we say if it is a year, in is used. We have lived here since that time. Okay, though although I did not mention that in my lecture, but the correct answer for that is since. The bed fell blank the teacher's head and rolled away on on the teacher's hand. Okay, because you touch the surface. It touched the surface. So that's why we use on. The bad fell on the teacher's hand and roll away. Who is that bad? The convict escaped, point of origin, from prison. Okay, point of origin. I often take advantage blank seasonal sales ownership. Okay, so Mrs. Bueno will be glad to your to give advice to your personal problems. Why were you absent? Blank the classes in the class yesterday or in the class yesterday. It's a common phrase already in the class. So there's no question with that. So in the class is already a common phrase. I am very much pleased with your performance, although I did not mention this in my lecture. The man got angry of the dog for barking at him. Okay? Reason. The meeting will start promptly at 2 o'clock and will last until 5 o'clock. Okay? So how many items you got correctly? And you filled in again your bean with the Serbach Learning Bean.